very much, George. It's a pleasure to serve with you in the chair. I congratulate the Honourable Member for Neath for leading off on this debate. She and I usually have discussions about another of my hobbies, which is squash. And I'm here today to talk about another hobby, horse racing. I have a lifelong interest and passion in racing. I have in the past owned legs and hairs of racehorses, not very successful, and at the moment I on the farm at home, we have a broodmare and we have young stock, and I have an ambition to get those horses onto the racecourse, as crazy as it may sound. And at the moment, the greater problem is dealing with mud fever rather than probably affordability checks. But affordability checks are very important. And as we're hearing, I don't, like everyone else, there is problem gambling is a major problem. But there is a worry that there is going to be a severe impact of unintended consequences on the funding of horse racing if these affordability checks go forward in their existing form. Now, horse racing is largely funded, as we've heard, through the levy. In recent years, there's been additional funding coming in, whether it's through media rights and through sporting and through sponsorship. But largely speaking, it comes through the horse race betting levy. That came in the early 1960s. I personally think at that time, horse racing government went down the wrong road. It would be better if we had what is known as a pari-mutuel form of gambling. And if that is why, as we've seen from what my honourable friend from Tewkesbury said, why those prize money is so much higher in places like Hong Kong and Japan, which actually are incredibly well-regulated industries as well. And as I said, so horse racing does depend dramatically, to a large degree, on that levy. And it's quite clear from what I see, from the feedback I get, that these affordability checks in their current form will have a serious impact on the take from the levy. And horse racing at the moment, and the funding is, and you look at that prize money, is under real challenge and in real crisis in the UK. And I know my honourable friend from Skipton did say that Shipley did say that we have the best horse racing in the world, and we do, but we can't. That is increasing in risk of becoming an anachronism, and there is a real worry that if we just let this go, that horse racing will wither on the vine in this country. If you look at the horses in training sales from Tattersall's at Newmarket last autumn, horses that traditionally, a lot of those horses would have come out of flat racing, they would have gone into national hunt racing, they would have remained in the UK for racing. They're now actually going all around the world, whether that is to the US, to Australia, and you have got emerging new industries in not just in Dubai and the Maiden, as we're seeing at the moment, but also in places like Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, which are making a real impact. And a lot of those horses are going to those places. And if you look at the owners of those places, if you look, a lot of British owners are racing out there. And if you watched the racing on Saturday afternoon, a very well-known racing figure, Sir Alex Ferguson. Where was he? He was at Maiden. He wasn't watching his horses run at Kempton. And so that is what I'm worried where we may be heading. I think it's also important to emphasise, and we've heard great stories today about everyone plug for the racecourses that we've got all around the UK and how important they are for their local economies. And that is very true. And actually, one point I would just highlight, which I picked up in the Racing Post over the weekend, it was you had the launch of the weights for the Grand National last week. And one of the articles was saying that actually the Grand National meeting every year, it puts more money into the Liverpool economy than the Eurovision Song Contest did last year. So And I think that is repeated. Obviously, we're going to see it at Cheltenham, we see it at York, we see it at Goodwood, we see it at those festivals that take place all around the country. And so that is at risk. But the racing supply chain, it extends far beyond that. It extends, as we say, into those training centres as well. It extends into the countryside, onto the studs. It also then, you have places where horses are pre-trained. You also, importantly, have places where horses are retrained. When horses have finished their racing lives, they are retrained for alternative uses and for alternative activities. And so that, it's the tentacles of racing extend a long, long way. It's not just also in the countryside. It's also into the towns and into those licensed betting offices, those LBOs in the high street. And I know the Honourable Lady has a concern about that, but certainly if I look in the town where I represent, there hasn't been a dramatic increase in LBOs, and they are a very important part. If I've misinterpreted the Honourable Lady, I apologise profusely on that, but they are very, very important in those high streets. They tend to have a sort of family feel about them, in that the staff there, and there are actually a lot of women who now work in those shops, it's the good family relationship with the punters in there, and if people start getting sort of out of control very, very quickly, hang on, do you know where you're going on that? So there is that long supply chain. We've also heard about unintrusive and frictionless checks. And the feedback that I get is that they are very, very difficult to actually put into practice in real life. And you see, as I said, you either get the rise of the black market, and as we've heard today, there is the large article at the front of the Racing Post, which has indicated that is a reality. Or a lot of small punters will say, well, I give up. I'm not going to do it. And then that impacts on the levy, and it spirals down to the impact into racing. I think the final point I would just make is there is an element of hypocrisy about this, in that the lottery is not included. And the lottery is great. Actually, it was probably one of the best, if you look at the legacy of the major government. Its impact has been profound and positive. And if I look back when I was growing up, very rarely did we win Olympic gold medals. I can think of listening to David Hemery when he won in 1968 in Mexico. Well, actually, we now win in so many different sports. And that is the direct result of the lottery. So the lottery is a great thing, but it is a game of chance rather than a game of skill. And it's random betting, and it can take over people's lives. And I remember there was one statistic that was put to me that if you gambled on the national lottery every year since Moses was pulled out of the bulrushes, you still wouldn't have won. So that does, I think, just impact that, we need to look at all forms of gambling and betting together. So, George, I'll conclude. A few months ago, I was reading the Racing Post, and one of their leading journalists is Chris Cook, who is the son of Sir Robin Cook, and obviously a former Labour Foreign Secretary. And Chris Cook made a comment that, and it left something with me. He said, you wouldn't have expected a Conservative government to be doing this to horse racing. And I agree with him. And I think on that point, I would just urge my honourable friend, the Minister, who, as we've heard, is listening very, very intently to what we've had some great speeches. I will give way.
Just very, very quickly, because I followed the whole of the debate, this isn't a party political issue. I think it is an issue of all those who feel that horse racing has given is giving us so much across all communities, and therefore I hope sincerely that the Minister will live. It is a cross-party issue that we all address.
Peter Aldous.
Yes, I would. She's right on that, and I think, but it's a point. You know, it is not party political, but Chris Cook made this point. Robin Cook, if we look back, and I think we can, I think we all saw him on race courses, and I think in his barber jacket down by the final fence. And actually, Alex Salmond as well. He is a great punter as well. So it's not party political, but at the moment we have a Conservative government, and I would urge my honourable friend just to take on board what he's hearing this afternoon. Thank you.
Freeman.